All right, let's talk about queer representation. Why it matters, heated rivalry, why I could only find one active US men's professional athlete that is publicly out. I really want to use heated rivalry as my primary example because it's recent and everyone's talking about it and it's hot and it just, the last 2 episodes got my ass so good, and I think it is the best fucking example of why queer representation matters. Okay? Let's do it. To preface, this is not going to be like a deep dive of Heated Rivalry. We're really just going to hone in on the last 2 episodes because that kind of is just a great example, I think, of why queer representation is important. I'm having a thought like in this moment of how big it is that this now exists for upcoming athletes, and given that I could only find one active player that's out right now, like in my research, I found that just a lot of people, when I say people, I mean men, like men's athletes, they wait to come out after they retire. And I think that is so incredibly sad. So this is your warning. If you haven't seen Heated Rivalry and you don't want spoilers, maybe don't watch this video or come back to it after you watch the show. Yeah. Queer representation. And when I say queer representation, just for, I don't know, if someone who is straight is watching, whatever, like really just examples of queerness out in the wild, in public. So there's a lot of ways that queer representation can like show itself. You have like people, just like everyday people who are out and about and being gay, and that to me is like queer representation. Like you pass someone on the street and they're holding hands with their partner, like that to me is queer representation. And then you have it depicted in like culture, so in like films, photos, shows, that kind of thing. So it just, yeah, when I say queer representation, I'm kind of meaning like the broad sense of like being gay in front of people to show people that it's okay. The more people who are online sharing themselves as being gay, and whether they want to talk about like I do, like I talk about like my experiences being gay, or if they just want to post with their partner proudly. They don't even have to talk about being gay. They can just post their partner. Like that still is representation, and what it looks like for different people is so different. But the more people that are doing that, and like the more stories that are being told in film and like books, and like the more that exists, like it's only going to help the people who aren't out and don't, they're still figuring it out. It's just gonna help people feel like okay and like they're not alone. So I think it's only good. Now, of course, you have that group of people who are very much, don't shove it down my throat, and like they just act disgusted by, like there's a clip going around of one of the podcast bros, I don't even remember his name, thank God, who was like, I think they show him a clip of like 2 guys kissing, like 2 guys being gay, and he's like visibly like disgusted and like, ew, oh God, like gross, like, and I'm like, one, are you like okay? Like, what the fuck? Like, have you seen people kiss before? Like, are you alright? So it very much is a thing, and I think that those people are being like extremely like exaggerating and being a little over the top about shit like that. But there are definitely, you have like your Moms for Liberty type groups who are very against queer representation in media, in books, in fucking life, but they're the ones that are always mad when there are gay characters, or when there's a Disney movie or show and there's a gay character, or whatever, and they're like mad, and I just like, I can't even fathom like being that way. And I mean, my theory on that is that anyone who is doing that and acting that upset about it, I think that they're deeply closeted, because why do you care? Like, it just, like, move on with your life. Like, I know most of these people are religious, But I just think that maybe there's more going on, and I think that maybe they're also gay, and they just, like, don't want to see it because they don't want to be reminded of it, that they can't be honest with themselves. But there are a lot of people who, it's like, they think that if they see it on screen, it's gonna, like, turn them gay or turn their kids gay. And it's just like, like, the amount of straight media that I've consumed in my life and straight couples that I've seen in the world, and like here I am still a lesbian, no interest in men, like at all. Like truly, as the days go on, I'm less and less interested in men, and that's all that's out there. Fortunately for me, I'm in a bubble and I'm surrounded by gay people. But it's just like, if you actually think that seeing these things is going to turn you gay or your kid gay, I just, like, feel sorry for you. It's sad that they think, like, turning gay is, like, a thing. Like, no, it actually doesn't work that way. You actually just are gay, and when you're younger and don't have the language or the examples, aka why queer representation matters, when you don't really know what that is, like, when you don't have the words to explain that about yourself, but you know something is different, like, how else do you think that people are able to figure that out about themselves? It's by witnessing it and then being, like, reassured and, like, oh my god, like, that makes so much sense. Like, that is how I feel. That's why I feel an attraction to my friend who is also a girl or whatever. It just is so important, and it drives me insane that there are people and groups like Moms for Liberty and all these just awful people out there that are, like, doing everything they can. They're spending their time, like, trying to make less and less of this exist when it needs to exist. Another thing that's really annoying about that group of people to me too is every story isn't for you. You don't have to resonate or relate with every single story that is told. If you're watching a movie and it's oh my god, it's about lesbians, it's about two girls that are in love, maybe that's not for you, and that's okay. It is for someone. There is someone out there that is deeply moved by it or needed that in their life to figure themselves out or feel less alone or finally have the words or see what their future love is going to look like. Like, they finally get to see it depicted on screen, especially for people who have never had it. There are so many movies with straight couples. There are so many rom-coms and Nicholas Sparks books and movies out there. There are so many. So when a few come through that are for gay people, and it's not even for gay people either, like, it shouldn't matter. Like, I can watch a movie about straight people in love and understand it and, like, still relate that to my life just because it's not what my love looks like. Like, you can expose yourself to things that aren't exactly what your life looks like. Just not everything is about you. Not everything is for you. And I think if you're the type of person, like a Moms for Liberty type, that is going to fight to make those things harder to exist, it just is, like, so, like, you're so sad. Like, I feel so sorry for you. I don't know if those types of people have ever experienced, like, true love. And I don't even mean romantically. That's my opinion, okay? I think if you're wasting your time trying to, like, do things like that to gay people and, like, make people feel that way, there's just no way in hell that you have ever experienced, like, love, like, deep love, feel seen and heard in life. And, like, that makes me really sad. Like, I just can't imagine having that miserable of a life that I'm like, because if you had felt like you just wouldn't be concerned with, like, bringing people down, pushing so hard to make things like that not exist. I don't believe that you would be capable of it because it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Yeah, not everything's for you, and that's okay. That's kind of the queer media side of things, but, like, I've talked about it in a past video before. I think I was talking about when we were in Dollywood, and, you know, I was, like, wanting to hold hands with my girlfriend, like, in a place like that. And I know that we were in a little bit of a bubble, like, in Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, like, at Dollywood. Dollywood is very well known to be queer friendly and supportive, and so Dolly wouldn't be putting up with no shit. So that was like a little bit of a bubble, but also knowing we were in a very conservative area, like Trump stuff everywhere, Trump stores. Yeah, I wanted to walk around the park some of the time holding my girlfriend's hand, because I know that there are people in there that aren't out, can't be out, especially like younger, like, and when I say like younger kids, I more mean like middle school, high school age, like young adults. If I just like wonder what would happen if I had witnessed like a younger looking person holding hands with their partner when I was younger. Like, I didn't figure out that I was queer until I was older. I just wonder if it would have like triggered something in me, like if it was just more normalized. I just like want this shit to be normalized. Like, I just don't understand why it isn't. Why it's like a big deal. It just seems like really silly to me. Because, maybe a hot take, in my opinion, it makes more sense to me for everyone to just be bisexual and like have a preference or be in the middle. Like, to me, it just does not make sense that we were put on this planet to only like one specific thing. Right? It makes sense to me that we were like awoken on this planet, birthed on this planet, and we just like everything. And as we go through life, we kind of figure out what our preferences are. You know what I mean? Like, sure, there is one way to make a baby. Like, you need this and this to make a baby. Sure, but that doesn't have, like, anything to do with love or the purpose of relationships. I don't even remember what I was saying, but, like, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. There's another subset of people, which is basically the same subset of people of the, like, don't shove shit down my throat, like, the people who get mad at there being gay characters in, like, Disney. They're the same people who are like, why do you need gay pride? Like, we don't need a pride to be straight and all this stuff. And it's like, you're the reason why. People like you are why we have parades and we have celebrations about being gay, because people like you think that it's not okay, and you're trying to make people like us not exist. You know what I mean? If you just didn't give a fuck who I kissed and who I was in love with, we wouldn't need it. But unfortunately, y'all motherfuckers did have an issue and have had an issue and have made things harder for people and have tried taking away rights and making things different based on who someone loves. Like, you're the reason why we have pride. You're the reason why we need queer representation, because you're doing everything in your fucking power to make people feel lesser because of who they love. And, like, that's pathetic. But also, like, if you don't want there to be pride, then shut the fuck up. Be okay with us just being gay. Like, to me, it makes so much sense. Like, anytime, because the people who ask the question, why do you need pride? Why do you need a parade? They are the ones who are, like, homophobic as fuck. Like, so it's just like, okay, so you're homophobic and you also lack the ability to think critically. Like, thank you for showing how much of an idiot you are, truthfully. What do you mean? Like, take a step back. Why do you need a parade? Like, to say, like, who you love and I don't need to know who you sleep with in the bedroom. Bitch, it's not about who I sleep with in the bedroom. It's about the love of my life. What are you talking about? It's about who I love. Like, you're making about who I fuck. So, just a reminder, since we're talking about queer representation, why do you need a pride parade to celebrate who you sleep with? You and people like you who have tried saying that we can't have certain jobs because we're gay, all that kind of stuff. You had a problem with it. We had to fight against you to get the same rights. And when I say we, I mean the wonderful queer people before me. Although we're apparently still having to fight for shit because they're trying to take shit away. But, so it's you. So, like, shut the fuck up. Anyways, let me just get off that tangent and let's correct course and let's talk about why we're really here. let's bring Heated Rivalry into the mix. And also, if I'm like missing any points that you think is like so important to talk about, as always, please comment them below. It's a conversation, and it's going to be impossible for me to cover like every point. I really want to focus on, as I've said, the last 2 episodes. Loved how they did it in the series where, you know, it was focused on the 2 main guys, and then all of a sudden one episode like focused on the other guy, and in the moment you're kind of like, what is happening? Why did we pivot here? But the way that they brought it all back together was just, it was perfection to me. So in the, like, why does queer representation matter? Okay, let's talk about what happened literally seconds after Scott came out publicly, and not even by saying, hey, I'm gay, but just by kissing his boyfriend. Like, he is like having clearly this like moment on the ice alone. People are watching and they're like, what's going on? What the fuck is going on? And then it starts showing like Shane and Ilya, and it's just like this huge build up moment where you're just like, everyone's like, what is going on? What is going on? And as soon as he brings him down here, like, Shane had already invited him to his cottage. And so he had already kind of like floated the idea, like, you know, spend the summer with me, like, don't go back to Russia, a country that is very unsafe to be gay. But as soon as Scott brought his boyfriend down to the ice, just starts freaking making out on the ice after winning the cup, like, I mean, we're talking seconds. Ilya calls and is like, I'm coming to the cottage. Like, that is, to me, the perfect example of why queer representation matters. All that it took for Ilya to feel comfortable to take another step forward. Yeah, like, this is definitely, like, I'm like in love with you, I'm gay, like, blah, blah, blah. All it took was, like, somebody else. That was a huge, like, if we're talking about these characters like these are real people, that is a huge thing that he did. So vulnerable, so, like, I don't know how this is going to play out for me, but fuck it. He did it, and it immediately, like, had an impact on other people's lives. It made this other guy be able to be like, okay, like, I'm in. Like, that's all I needed to see was, like, somebody else, like, in our league, like, another gay guy out there, and I, like, feel more comfortable to freaking come to your cottage and have tons of gay sex. I just, like, I love that moment so much. As soon as I saw it, I was just like, oh. And then had the immediate thought of, like, that is why it fucking matters, because what you're doing, I'm not saying everybody needs to be publicly doing everything and that everything has to be public or whatever for public consumption, but I do just think that, like, none of us know how we choose to live our life, like, in public. None of us know how that affects other people that witness what we're doing. Like, we just don't know. Scott Hunter has no fucking clue that Ilya was like, all right, I'm coming to your cottage. He doesn't know. He was only concerned about doing what was true to him, and it had a huge positive impact on other people that just so happened to be in his life. Like, he just so happened to also be the hockey player, but, like, that could have happened for, like, anyone. You know what I mean? Like, that show, just, like, the last episode, and I think I saw a clip from Esther Perel, and she posted multiple videos. I've only seen one of them, and I need to watch the rest of them, but I need to watch it again. But she was kind of talking about how, like, in that show, we were, like, waiting for something bad to happen, but it just didn't. It just kind of became this just, like, love story. Like, it was good. Obviously, like, the dad coming to the cottage and, like, seeing them without them knowing, that was set up in a way to be like, oh my god, this is where it goes bad. I feel like there were moments where it's like, you're just kind of waiting for something bad to happen to these guys, and, like, it doesn't happen. Like, it's finally a cute story that just, like, gets to be a love story without, like, devastation, which there is underlying devastation of them, like, not feeling comfy to be out while being athletes. That's, like, devastation. It just gets to be, like, a happy story, like a love story. And I, like, thank God, because, like, kids that are not even born yet, this exists. They get to be able to watch this and see an example of, yeah, it's going to be, like, hard and scary, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be good and it's not going to have a happy ending. Like, it can be good still. Oh, look who this is. This is Franker. You have something to say? Say it into the mic. That moment was a good example of like something that can happen from representation, and then there's like the other zoomed out version, which is just like the show itself is like the representation. And I like am so obsessed that it's getting so much attention. The guys are blowing up from it. I hope that more and more good comes. Like I saw where the guy who plays Shane was basically saying that people have been in his DMs basically coming out to him. And that's where I want to wrap up the video with talking about kind of some current day statistics, if you will. That was my major in college. Well, business analytics, the business version of it. And just something that I found really, really interesting. I did like some light to medium research. I didn't go too in depth. And shout out to Jocelyn, I believe, with Right Through the Night. They're the one who did the heavy lifting. I was able to find articles with some of the numbers that I'm going to use, so I just wanted to shout them out. Right Through the Night is the blog. They basically have like articles about a lot of queer stuff, but they have covered like the out lesbians in professional leagues. So what I want to talk about is just the stark difference of lesbians out in like women's sports versus men out in like men, like all the like the men's leagues. I am just focusing on leagues in the United States and players in those leagues. So I didn't have it in me to like expand to all countries. So just know that when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about United States leagues. So to me, I find this to be very interesting. I feel like other queer people would, and when I say interesting, I also mean incredibly sad. So it's no secret that there are lots of queer women athletes. There's some pretty interesting numbers here. So let's start with the women, just because we all know that there are multiple out like lesbians in those leagues, and then I'm gonna follow it up with the men's leagues and just some things that I found online that I find interesting. If you think that this part of the video is interesting and would be interested in a video that just kind of focuses on queerness in sports, let me know, because I found it to be intriguing and I would love to make a totally separate video on it, but this would get really long if I did both in this video. So all right, let's start with the WNBA. We have 13 teams as of 2025. I think they're adding a couple new ones this year. I'm not going to go into the breakdown of like the exact numbers that I've pulled because that will take time, but just know that I basically went through, pulled the number of teams, pulled the number of players on rosters roughly, like, so I would just take the max number of players that could be on a roster times the number of teams in the league and come up with just kind of like a rough number of players within the whole league. All right, starting with the WNBA. Shout out to Jocelyn once again. Your articles made my research so much easier. Like, you don't even know. Thank you so much. For the WNBA 2025 season, there were 44 players that are like openly gay. So they're like posting about being gay. Like, they've shared publicly that they're gay. There's like no speculation going on. 44 players are publicly gay. Based on like a rough roster number of like total players in the league, that's like 28% of the league. So like 28% of the WNBA in 2025 was queer. And you know that there are more people that are not out. I'm so sorry. You know that there are. So that number is probably a little bit higher. Then we go to the women's soccer league. And doing some rough number estimates, there's roughly 308 players in 2025. According to Jocelyn, they found that as of the 2025 season, 46 players were openly gay. So that was about 15% of the league was gay. And then because we were talking about Heated Rivalry, I pulled the like professional women's hockey league numbers. It's only 8 teams, so roughly 184 players, 36 of those players openly gay. So like 20% of the league. I find that so interesting that like 50 to like 30% of women's sports, like athletes, women's professional athletes, are gay. But also, to compare that to the men's league. Now, I'm not saying that the percentages have to be the same. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that according to Gallup, as of 2024, 9.3% of US adults would identify as queer in some way. So like lesbian, gay, bi, trans. So like 10%. So even if we were to say like, okay, 10% of men's athletes, there is one professional athlete, active, like guy playing right now in the soccer league. One. No one else. No other dude in any other United States professional team is out. There have been a lot of people that have come out like after retirement or like years ago, like were playing for a couple seasons before retiring. Like very few men's athletes have been out like while playing. A lot of them seem to wait until they're like done before they'll come out, and I think that's so sad. Based on like the women's numbers, like if the percentages matched or were at a minimum 10%, like we're looking at between like 360 to like 700 guys like not out across, and like only 4 leagues across NBA, soccer, hockey, and football. There's several hundred players that are very likely queer based on statistics that aren't out. And I would be curious how many of them are out in their personal life, but just not publicly. Like maybe they're out to their team, but not to the public. And I hope that there is a number of those people. We're talking a lot of, like, of the 4 leagues I pulled, like 3,600 players. One is out. Something's not adding up to me. That's just a little interesting tidbit that I wanted to throw in here. And I mainly looked all that up because this article popped up. Heated Rivalry inspires real life hockey player to come out as gay. Like, that is why queer representation matters. This show comes out and he's like, yeah, I should come out. I think a lot of people are like, everyone's gay now and like so many more people are gay. No, that's like not how it works. Stop. So many people are gay and things happen and things progress and they get to feel more and more comfortable to come out. It's not about like, oh, more people are gay now. No, it's just like more people are realizing that that's an option. I just don't understand why people are so dumb. So let's just hope that more things like this can come out and happen, and that we will head in the right direction, and that, yeah, more representation happens so that we can have more than 0 or 1 out male athlete. I don't know, queer representation matters, as I've stated over and over and over in this video. Tell me why you think queer representation matters. There are a lot of reasons. I tried keeping it somewhat contained so that this video wouldn't be a million hours long, because I could go on for a long time about this. Oh, as of last week, my girlfriend and I have come back to the Gab, but we are doing them live every Thursday around 8 p.m, 8:30. We're going live and we're just gabbing into these mics right back there. I don't have the time to edit these videos and those videos, so we're doing those ones live. And honestly, it was so much fun. Last week we talked about which lip do you kiss? Like, do you kiss someone's lower lip or upper lip? Go over there, watch that. Let us know what lip you kiss. On Thursday, a couple days from now, we'll be live back over there. I think the page is linked on this channel, so if you're interested, more gay stuff. So that's coming out Thursday. And then next week, I'm talking about all my obsessions in my like notebook, stationery, like supplies list. So that will come out next week. Who's that? Do I hear a kitty? Come here, Hirsch. You want to come say bye? I'm wrapping up the vid. Hirsch wants to say bye. Okay, he changed his mind. So, all right. Well, I'll see you next week and I'll show you all my notebooks.